Good evening, classmates. My name is Kyle Kennard, and this is my presentation on social cognition, self-concept, and moral development. This is EDU 1107, Foundations of Learning. Here are our goals, or objectives, for today's presentation. The first is social cognition. The second is self-concept. And finally, we'll finish with moral development. As you can see here, I have provided some pictures to kind of give you an idea of the topics that will be discussed in the following slides. Let's begin with social cognition. Social cognition is the way we process, store, and apply information about other people and social situations. The way that we think about others has a major impact on the way that we interact with society. As we grow, we become more aware of not only our feelings, but the emotions of others. Social cognition has everything to do with how we believe other people perceive ourselves in society. Let's give an example. Say you are going on a blind date with a certain person. Your social cognition is concerned with making an impression with that person and how you present yourself on the date. You are also concerned with the understanding the signals you are giving the other person. How do you impress your date? What kind of personality does your date have? All the questions that go through your head about your date, what your date is thinking, or how you're thinking about how the date is going, is all social cognition. Albert Bandura has a theory on social cognition, and it has to deal that personal factors and environmental factors are influenced by student behavior. They all influence and have an effect on each other, but the personal factors and the environmental factors both influence student behavior. Let me give you an example. Say a student is having trouble focusing in a class in a certain day and is being extremely disruptive, which is the behavior. Because of his behavior, the teacher is upset and becomes a bit harsh with her reactions to the student, which is the environment. The student then thinks the teacher doesn't like him and doesn't think that he can succeed, which is his personal factor. So they all tie into each other and all influence and have an effect on each other. I have provided some discussion questions on social cognition. You may look over these questions, answer them as we go, or think about them later. They are: what influences do our thoughts have on our feelings? Or how do we develop attitudes? And what role do these attitudes play in our social lives? And then finally, how does self-cognition affect student behavior in the classroom? The next topic is self-concept. Self-concept is the way that we perceive our behavior, abilities, and unique characteristics. It is your own idea of who you are as a person. As we get older, we have a pretty good idea of our self-concept. Self-concept has everything to do with who you think you are as a person and the thoughts that go through your head about who you are. Let's take a look at an example of self-concept. Here in the picture is a man who is looking at a shadow of himself, and he is all muscled up, fit, and looks like he's been working out his whole life. Now that may be his perception of himself, but perception may not be reality. While others may see what he looks like in reality, his self-concept of himself may be different, and that's okay. According to the social identity theory, self-concept contains two key parts: personal identity and social identity. Personal identity is referring to personality traits or other characteristics that make us unique. Social identity are groups that we are a part of: community, your religion, a college, or other groups that you socially identify with. Okay, so theorists have a few different ways of thinking about self-concept. Dr. Bruce Bracken suggests 6 domains related to self-concept. Those 6 are social, which is the ability to interact with others; competence, which is the ability to meet basic needs; affect, which is the awareness of emotional states or how something can affect you; physical, which is your overall physical appearance; academic, which is success or failure, positive or negative, in school; and family, which is the role that we play in our family unit. These 6 domains, social, competence, affect, physical, academic, and family, can affect our self-concept one way or another. Carl Rogers suggests 3 different parts to self-concept. The first one is self-image. Self-image could also be how you see yourself. It is important to realize that self-image does not always coincide with reality. People may believe they are better at things than they really are, or vice versa. Number 2 is self-esteem. Self-esteem is also how much you value yourself. Different factors impact self-esteem, including how we compare ourselves to others. And number 3 is the ideal self, or how you wish you could be. Most of the time, the way we see ourselves and how we would like to see ourselves don't quite match up. Some questions or activities that you could do in your classroom or ask yourself are: who am I? Or what is the image that I have of myself? An activity or activities that can be done in the classroom to promote a more positive self-concept are having the students draw self-portraits of themselves, or create a commercial about why someone should hire them. The students will have to name their special qualities, or have journal writing to improve the self-image. The last objective of the evening, and the last topic I'm going to cover, is moral development. Moral development is the way we differentiate right from wrong. In the field of moral development, morality is defined how we treat one another with respect to justice, others' welfare, and rights. Moral development focuses on the emergence, change, and understanding of morality from infancy through adulthood. So moral development has to do with learning the right and wrong ways to do things as we grow up through life. There are 6 factors influencing moral development: family, sex, either male or female, age, society and culture, our peer group or friends, and our school. Kohlberg has levels of moral development. The first level is pre-conventional morality. Most preschool and elementary kids are at this level. Their thoughts are that people make decisions based on what's best for themselves without regard for people's feelings or needs. They will disobey if they are likely not to get caught. They only obey rules if established by a more powerful individual. And as you can imagine, that sounds just like a preschool or elementary school child. Level 2 of Kohlberg's theory is the conventional morality, which is seen in older elementary school kids, junior high, and many high school students. Their thoughts are that people make decisions based on what will please others. They are concerned about maintaining relationships through trust and loyalty, and they take others' perspectives into account when making decisions. The third level of Kohlberg's moral development theory is the post-conventional morality, which is rarely seen in any students or children before college. These people recognize that rules represent agreements among many individuals about appropriate behavior. Rules are seen as potentially useful mechanisms that can maintain the general social order and protect individual rights rather than absolute dictates that must be obeyed simply because they are the law. People also recognize the flexibility of rules, rules that no longer can serve society's best interests and should be changed. Kohlberg also has stages of moral development. There are 6 stages. Even though there are 3 levels, there are 6 stages that students or children go through. The first stage is in the infancy range, which is obedience and punishment. And these kids, infants I must say, have no difference between doing right and avoiding punishment. They just don't understand. The next stage is self-interest, and that's at the preschool level, where the interest shifts to rewards rather than punishment. The next stage is conformity and the interpersonal accord, which is around the school age, and this is where the student or child gets the good boy or good girl level. The next is authority and social order, which is still in the school age. And then they start to move towards the fixed rules. They start to understand the rules, and they start to follow the rules. The next is the social contract, and this is in the teens age. This is when it's morally right and legally right are not always the same. Utilitarian rules make life better for everyone. And then finally we get to the universal principle stage, and this is in adulthood, where morality is based upon principles that transcend mutual benefit. So as you can see, Kohlberg believes in stages that range from infancy all the way to adulthood. Some discussion questions with moral development are: can education result in moral behavior? And is there a relationship between cognitive development and moral development? Also, are students in your classrooms moral development influenced by their peers?